This collector on the corner. I ain't made any videos lately because I ain't been feeling too here. Had a stuffy head, runny nose, all that good stuff, you know.
Yes, he has. Me too.
Debbie too. And what it is, our grandkids are living with us. Their mama died in the spring, and their daddy and them, they live with us. And them little kids bring everything from school home to grandma and grandpa, and they're sick for 2 days, and we're sick for 2 weeks. So
Yep.
we ain't did any videos. I just doing what is necessary, do my chores, feed my critters, and this and that. Firewood. They say we're going to get some single-digit weather.
I hope not.
So
I don't want it.
I cut no cool trees, clearing up that ground we bought. And there's a little bit of dead stuff in it, but it's mostly old red oak, and it's green, and like that guy's got that YouTube video up there, Tractor Man 44, says it'll put Chris up in your chimney and make a smoky fire and all that. So I always try and get
Randy?
some of this old cedar. Like that.
That's my clothesline pole.
And yeah, you can use it for a clothesline pole if you want. Anyway.
Yes.
That's got turpentine in it. You can, a little piece of that'll put enough heat to get this
move
gas
around.
flying and go burning.
Too many big
And you don't
sticks.
split this with a splitter, you split it with a chainsaw.
Ah, you just want to play
Well,
with.
you
You just want to play with your chainsaw.
I mean, that other home light there, a little XL12 automatic. Use this old 68 Sigma color. And that's where his earphones.
Yes, you do, because it's deafening.
You know, rattle the windows on the neighbor's house a half a mile away, but you know, that's their fault for living too close.
Rattle the windows in my brain.
Saw, I guess. But anyway, I got a few days worth of wood here. They say Thursday it's gonna get down to like 1 degree or something. But you know, it's time of year for it. Can't complain. I want to tell a shotgun story.
Yeah, I see
A
your
couple of
shotguns.
This gun right here belonged to my great-grandfather, Charles Thorn.
Let me get around here where I can get it.
He was full-blood Swede. He came from Sweden.
Yes, he did.
And he worked on the Transcontinental Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a blacksmith, worked with horses and stuff. And he come back in northeast Indiana, and he bought him a big plot of land, acreage out there, almost on Lake Michigan out there. Swamp ground. And he thought that ought to grow corn. And he tried farming that for 3 or 4 years. He couldn't do no good. And finally, he just went off and quit using it. And it sold for taxes during the Depression. And he no longer had it. But then he bought another place on up there, and he had 20 acres down in the bend of what they call Deep River. And every spring when they opened the floodgates on Lake George upriver, all the settlement out of the bottom of the lake would come down there and hit the bend of the river and overflow on his 20 acres down there. And like the Nile overflows, and he'd grow corn on there and garden and stuff. He farmed that. Farmed for Belgians. But anyway, he held a bunch of land up on top of the hill there, and there wasn't nothing there when he came there. And right now, where it's located is Lake Station, Indiana. They call it the Four Corners down there. It's where Ripley Street, US 51, and Central Avenue crosses. He owned all that up through there. And his daughters and son-in-laws and his sons and them, he'd give them all land. And they was all either carpenters or mechanics, all a whole bunch. And they all built houses, and we all lived there. And when I was a little kid, I lived there. He was ancient then. He was an old man then. And I lived there, and I'd go over there because it was real interesting to me because he was a hoarder. People had been on to him, city fathers and different people, and he wasn't easy to get along with. He was kind of abrasive like I am. And he would take his horse and his wagon and go right down the center of Central Avenue. And when he got to the junction of Highway 51 No matter what color that light was, that team would turn and go right down the corner of Highway 51 down, and they'd turn off and go down this river for him. He did that almost every day. You know, and they tried to get him to be on his side of the road, and there was a law in the books that you had to give the right of way to horse and wagons to you. There's nothing I can do with it. And one of his son-in-laws married one of his daughters. Uncle Sherman, he was the chief of police. He's a big old mean guy. Anyway, his wife was a Ritter, some relation of that singer, Tex Ritter. She's full-blood German. And old Sherman Link, he was a full-blood German. He was pretty mean. And Grandpa Thorn would go down there every day, and he'd farm that. And he was 92 years old, and he farmed 20 acres of corn down there with a team of green broke 3-year-old Belgians. His old team had died. One died and then another did. In the winter, he got some in the spring, and he used green broke horses when he was 92 years old to do that. But anyway, he had somebody stealing chickens. And he would give anybody anything. But somebody was stealing chickens off of him, and he didn't like that somebody stealing chickens. So he took this old shotgun right here, and he took the shell out of it, he took the lead out and everything, and all he left was the wadding and the powder and the primer. And he rigged this old shotgun up, pointing straight at that door. And he rigged him up a shotgun booby trap at that door, so that if somebody opened that door, when they got the door about 3/4 way up, and this old gun would go off. Well, this old boy gonna steal some chickens, had his gunny sack with him. He opened that door, and that shotgun went off about 2 o'clock in the darn morning. He'd been griping about them chicken thieves, you know. And everybody lived closer. Uncle Sherman, he lived down there about 1/8 of a mile. And they heard that shotgun go off 2 o'clock in the morning. Uncle Sherman jumped out of bed in his long handles and put his gun belt on and took off running up there. Thought the old man's done shot somebody. He took off running across the field there, and he lost his big old pistol somewhere running up there. And they got on up there, and it was a guy that was a deacon from the church. And the wadding had hit him in the chest, and he thought he was shot, and he was laying on the ground and thought he was dying and choking. And, you know, he was an old guy. He's probably 30 years younger than my grandpa, but he was an old guy, you know. And Grandpa says to him, he says, chickens. He says, if you're going to steal something, make it worthwhile. Go down and rob the bank or something. I'll give you a chicken. But anyway, my daddy got this gun somehow. Grandpa gave it to him or something, and he passed it on to me. And they've sawed the barrel off, and it's exactly 1/4 inch longer than it's supposed to be. If it was a little less than 1/4 inch shorter, it'd be illegal to own it. It's a regular old sawed-off shotgun, old single shot. Anyway, and I used to be a pretty good shot with a rifle most of the time. If something wasn't moving, it's hard for me to hit a moving target, but still target a long ways. I shot a deer one time with old Chinese SKS almost 1/4 mile away. But I've lost that vision in that eye here, dominant eye. I don't have much vision in it. I can't see, so I went to using the shotgun back again, 12 gauge. Well, my son somehow traded some kid he was working with when he was working at Walmart, changing oil, putting himself through college, for this old gun.
Wasn't a kid, he was a grown man.
He got this old gun right here.
I know, it's cool.
And this old boy was scared of this gun. He had never shot it. I don't know if he inherited it or where he got it from, but he'd never shot it. So that boy come in and he'd give it to me. He knew I was always kind of wanting a double barrel 12 gauge. So he'd give it to me, you know.
Get closer.
He said, I wouldn't advise you to shoot it. So I got to looking at the old gun, at the different stuff about it, and looking on the internet. This gun's made out of Belgian steel. I ain't afraid to shoot this gun.
Okay.
I can shoot this gun now. I can lay it thing over. I can lay it head way on over like this.
Shoot
Look
the
down that
dog.
barrel, and I'm deadly within the reach of this gun. I can even hit a squirrel moving.
But there's
Anyway.
nothing left of him, is there?
Anyway, when I first got it, I was carrying it around because I just like showing it off.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I was down there on Blacksbury Road. We had some land we owned down there along Blacksbury Road, and I was walking along the road there, going back to my truck. And these two young boys, young men, and they both small stature. Neither one was big
I
as
know
I
they
am.
were.
And they seen this old shotgun and they wanted to shoot it. And I said, no, you better not shoot that old shotgun. I said, that was made when men was real bad, and you ain't big enough to shoot this gun. And this littlest one, they called him PJ. He was a little one. He probably weighed 85 pounds.
I know he wasn't very
I said,
big.
besides, I don't want you shooting on my shot. I got 2 buckshot. He had these 2 12-gauge buckshot, 2 3/4 buckshot. He was holding them, and they was green, just like the buckshot I had. It was deer season. And I said, well, if you really want to, I said, but I'm here to tell you, this sucker kicks now. It's got a kick on it. So he loaded it up. I broke it down, got my shells out. And he loaded it up, cocked it, and he cocked both hammers. Well, this old gun's worn bad, and they ain't even got trigger guard. No matter which trigger you pull, if you cock both hammers, they both go off at the same time. I seen his mistake right away. So I got around behind him, and when he let go, there was some, what do they call it? Mistletoe up in a sycamore tree.
Uh-huh.
I said, blast that mistletoe out of that tree there. It's way on up, it grows in them sycamores down there along
Are
that
you
creek.
against kissing?
What?
Are you against kissing? Wanting
No.
to get rid of the
I just
mistletoe?
wanted mistletoe on the ground.
Oh, okay.
I just couldn't climb that tree like a squirrel or like a Ichabod could, Anyway, so he shoots up in there. He knocks some of that mistletoe out. But I'm watching him, and I'm standing right behind him. And as he's coming backwards, I just grab the gun and take it away from him. He falls down on the ground. He's got a winter coat on and all that. And I told him, hold that tight against your shoulder. And he peeled that coat off, and that shoulder was all black and blue.
Oh, poor kid.
He was almost crying. And so I broke it down and got both shells out, and the rest of my pocket got one of my buckshot that I had shot in my hand. I said, here's your other shell. I said, you want to shoot that other one? No, one shell's enough for me. And that other boy was standing there. I said, well, it's your turn. You want to shoot it? No, I ain't about to shoot that thing. You're just a crazy old man.
You are a crazy old man.
Anyway, but we're just going to do a short little video on Firewood and shotgun story, but I always liked that booby trap story. But Uncle Sherm lost his pistol when he was running up through there, and people was different now and then. The next day, everybody from around there went down there and searched the field and this and that. The sagebrush growed up in it, sagegrass. Some kid found his pistol and give it back to Uncle Sherm. Nowadays, if he'd lost that pistol, somebody found it. He'd never seen
And
it
kept
again.
it, yeah.
But anyway, everybody was on the lookout for his pistol, and they all hunted for his pistol down there in the field. But we lived there, and I'd sneak over to I was just little bitty, 3, 4, 5 years old, and I'd sneak over to my Grandpa Thorn's every chance I got. He'd finally get tired of me being there, and I was one of them little white-headed kids that run around there, and there was a bunch of us. And he'd take me over to my grandma,
Hey, chickies.
to my dad's mom's.
Uh-huh.
And he'd knock on the door, and she'd come door, and he said, I'm pretty sure he belongs somewhere over here. And he'd go back. But, every once in a while, he'd pick me up and let me sit on that dang team while he drove them around. I'd hang on them hames and go right down the middle of Central Avenue, and I thought I was 10 feet tall.
You were.
Yeah. I thought I was 10 feet tall riding on that great big Belgian horse, probably weighed 1,500 pounds. He had a matched pair of Belgians, is what he always had.
There's my chickies.
But there's a funny story about that matched pair of Belgians. There's 3-year-olds, green broke. Well, I'm going to tell it anyway. He talked two of my aunts and taken him over to Valparaiso, Indiana to auction sale. And he went over there and he made a deal, and he bought these two just broke to leave 3-year-old Belgian geldings. And Aunt Marge had an old Buick car, old straight 8 Buick car. And he comes out there and he gets in the back seat and rolls both back windows down and puts the lead ropes inside, and they drive from Valparaiso all the way back to Lake Station. 20 miles an hour.
He led the horses. Well, he led the horses.
Yep, he sat in the back seat. They said everybody that passed him would say, "Giddy up, high old silver," and all that stuff. And Aunt Nancy was kind of horse crazy. Aunt Marge didn't like horses at all, but Aunt Marge, she didn't like that. She said, "I ain't never taken him. I figured he'd get somebody to haul them horses for him, or he'd ride them home himself or something." But oh, that old man's, but you know, he was 92 years old. But anyway, he had them.
Okay.
But he never would let a tractor on his place. He said tractors would pack down the soil with nothing to grow.
Oh,
he didn't believe in tractors.
Okie dokie. Well, then he wouldn't like you.
So that's all we got for now. And we'll wish y'all goodbye and good luck, and y'all have a good Christmas. You know, maybe all of us make the winter this year. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I go to the spring auction in spring, and a lot of people I seen last year at the spring auction, every year there's less and less of them. I don't hardly know anybody there. They're all a lot younger than me. So we'll call it good, and I'm going to go put these guns back up.
Thank y'all, and please like and subscribe. Bye.